Hello folks and welcome to Dungeon Alchemist. I have yet to see a short review of Dungeon Alchemist, so here I am to make it. What is Dungeon Alchemist? Basically, it's a map making software that uses AI to help you to make your Dungeons and Dragons and tabletop RPG maps. So yeah, let's see how it works. Essentially, you click and drag and you can kind of just do whatever you want. Now click garden here. We can also click on other stuff. I'm on quite a large map actually, so this may take a few seconds, but it is incredibly fast. We can, I don't know, artist atelier here. Actually, we're on village, so yeah, let's actually get a mansion going here. Let's do hallway, poof. Then we're gonna do some other rooms here. And there we are. In the matter of a few seconds, we kind of have a layout here. Obviously not super realistic, but that's just because I'm trying to showcase this quickly. But essentially, you can lay out rooms, and they will propagate and fill with objects. And if you don't like the objects that are inside, you can just regenerate the room itself, or you can actually individually place objects, change doors, change panels, change floors, change everything to your liking. And you can also download assets in the Steam Workshop, so it's very good and very fun. And it's essentially a little bit like playing The Sims if you're into The Sims or like that, but it's for Dungeons & Dragons. Something that has never been brought up in the review as well is that actually these square tiles, unlike in D&D, are 1 meter by 1 meter. And that actually threw me off for a while because I was resizing objects and I thought, oh, you know, these objects are enormous, because if this was 5 feet, that would be almost 2 meters long per square. But yes, plates are still huge though. Anyway, yes, so yeah, it's 1 meter by 1 meter, but when you export it, which you can do to different software, or you can also export as images, you can actually overlay a correctly sized grid, which I'll show you in a second. Now, we're on an abnormally large map here, but essentially we can do image only, we can do Foundry export and all these other things, print export, video export. We can also, yeah, render some lights, do your render or print quality, and most importantly, our grids here. So you can change the grid's transparency, the color, and when it's square, you can't change the 1 by 1 meter thing here, but if you go for hex, you can then input the actual hex width in meters, and I did here the equivalent of 5 feet. So we get 1.52 there, and then when you export this, you can actually see if you do print this or do whatever with it, then it is essentially like 5 feet hexes. And you can also see that the hexes stay if you change that feature. You can also change that in properties. But obviously when you do build, you're limited to, at the moment at least, squares. So you cannot have round rooms. There are objects that are round, but you have to place them kind of individually, and it doesn't really work out. So that's one downside at the moment with Dungeon Alchemist, which is still technically in development and in early access. So hopefully we're going to be seeing some development on that front. But it's not too huge of a limiting factor if you need something quick and easy. Say you've built a building, you kind of like it, but then you're like, oh, but it's daytime, but my players are going to do nighttime. What do we do? Well, you can just change it to nighttime, you can change it to morning, afternoon, or everything in between. You can also change the type of colors of the light itself, in case that's what you want to do, the position of the sun, and so on and so forth. You can change terrain to your liking, and you know, obviously get pretty advanced with this. You can also do some effects here with smoke and etc., and you can do overlays, which is actually quite new, to get your map looking nice and tidy. And you can also import an overlay, so you can trace buildings. So if you have something that you've planned from before, you can then overlay it in this and then plan accordingly. And when I say that objects can be placed individually, I mean objects can be placed individually to the very tiniest detail. And this is why you can get, you can spend many hours just putting things. In fact, I was making a home for one of my characters recently, and yeah, I spent many hours making that home, and I still haven't really finished it, to be honest. Also, you can actually not only just regenerate the room or build a new room or remove rooms, but you can regenerate the room itself to different things. So here we're gonna get bedroom for servants in what was a garden here. Well, I think that became more of a... Oh, it is kind of a bedroom. There are beds along the sides, but a lot of tables. But yeah, I guess eventually you can reload this enough and you might get a little bit less. Maybe the bedroom for servants is not supposed to be this big. So yeah, small glitches like that, small little things, which means that you do have to kind of move around objects if you're detail-oriented like I am. But it's a good start, it's a good layout to begin with. Now, to the biggest downside of Dungeon Alchemist as it stands, it is the fact that you can only build one floor. There are ways to get around this that are a little bit advanced. You can go into the text files and kind of move things around, but it's not included in the UI at the moment, and it is a bit tricky. You can also change terrain in some ways, but it's not really intuitive, and it's not really working, or it's not meant to work like that, right? So if you start building a second floor, you can't go back down unless you then reload the save and change the text files. So yeah, that's a limiting factor, quite a big one in my opinion, and something that they say that they have in development or future or planned for the future, and which they have no announcement as to when it's coming though. So a little bit worrying in those terms, but hopefully it is coming, because I feel like if that's included, that's gonna change everything, you know. That will be the cherry on top, and then the cherry on top of the cherry would of course be round buildings. But as it stands, still, I'd definitely recommend checking out Dungeon Alchemist. I did not receive a press code for this, I have paid my own money for it, so when I say I recommend it, I actually do recommend it if you need maps for your tabletop RPG. Something I forgot to mention is that if you start building and then you realize, oh no, actually forest, that's not what I wanted. I wanted skeletal plains or any other type of terrain. That is something you can change on the go. Boom, and just like that we have skeletal plains with a lava flow running right through the middle of the map. Of course, probably you'd want to edit this a little bit, but yeah, it can be done. You can do whatever you want. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is Dungeon Alchemist. If you've liked this review, let me know down below. If you have any experience with Dungeon Alchemist as well, personally, do let me know. And if you want to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe and leave a like. It's been GameGabster. Thank you so much for watching.